Welcome to the Heat versus the World podcast. And now, stand up and make some noise for your host, Joe Jacob.
What's up, Heat Nation? Welcome to the Season 3 premiere episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joel Jacob, and you can follow me on Twitter at JoelKJacob_. Without further delay, let's meet today's correspondents. First, we got George.
Yo, what's up?
We got Julius.
Yo, what's good?
We got Anthony.
98 more to go, yo.
Man, come on now. We got Flash.
What's going on?
And we got Monster.
What's good, everybody?
All right. So we got so much to talk about, but before we get into all that off-season chatter, let's talk about the NBA draft for a quick second. As the Miami Heat selected Nikola Jović with the 27th pick, despite rumors that the Heat would trade this pick, the Heat ended up surprising people by actually selecting someone. So with all that being said, what's everyone's reaction to the Heat selecting Nikola Jović? Start us off, George.
Yeah, I think this was a situation of pick the best available, but we actually got pretty lucky with Jović. I feel like he fell in the draft a little bit based on his capabilities. He's a solid 6'10", stretch big. Can really do it all, and he's got pretty good experience at the professional level. So I feel like it's a steal. He looks excited. He looks ready to go, and barring anything massive, I feel like he's someone that could fit the rotation quite well. I feel like Spo definitely sees him as a raw prospect as well. So he's got a lot of work, but a lot of upside as well. He can shoot the three. He's being 6'10", he can handle the ball as well. So this is definitely a dream pick for us as well. Someone that hopefully in the near future can contribute and play next to Bamba as well, stretch the floor. So this is nothing but excitement coming down from Heat Nation for this pick, and I feel like he's got massive upside and can't wait to see what he does.
Right, and what about you, Julius?
Yeah, I think he's a good pickup. He averaged about 11. I want to say 11, and he shot like about 42% from the field, 35 from the three. He reminds me a lot of Sengun because he can play make at the four at a big frame. I think he's going to be good to bring off the bench in his first year and learn under Bam, and I think he has a lot of defensive potential too as well. So I think that's a great pickup for y'all. And with the way the Heat is with their defense, I think he's going to fit right in because he can shoot the ball, take some pressure off of just depending on Tyler to get off backdoor cuts because he can stretch the floor.
Right. How about you, Anthony?
Man, I'm thrilled. I usually do a lot of draft research prior to the draft, but the way this season ended obviously was all sad. Didn't do too much draft talk or research prior to 1 week before when I was looking at one mock draft and I saw the name Nikola Jović, and obviously I thought it was very interesting. I looked him up and I fell in love with him instantly. I never thought he'd fall to the Heat, but needless to say, when I saw Adam Silver say Nikola, I was super thrilled. I love the Sengun comparison just because he's a big, could shoot a little bit, play make. Hopefully he has a great career in Utah, but we'll see.
Right, and you, Flash?
I called this like 3 weeks before the draft. Nikola Jović is an incredible prospect who is a parking cone on defense, but we'll work on it. But he's a very, very, very complete offensive player. He's 6'10", 6'11". I don't know what people have him as. By next year, he'll be 6'8", like they did Bam. But he'll be a great prospect for us. I think he can stretch the floor. And the thing that threw me off was when I watched his highlights and his scouting report, he was an initiator on the pick and roll. He wasn't the roller. He was the initiator. So I'm very looking forward to that Bam Jović pick and roll. Let's get it.
I can't wait, bro. And what's on your mind, Monster?
Yeah, I agree with what most of the people have said. He's probably not in the Heat's timeline for this upcoming season because he is 19 years old. but he can really stretch the floor, and he provides like that offensive spark, a stretch big type of player that the Heat really desperately needed last year. So if he can develop into someone who can be a defender that can be relied upon, he will just get like a lot of minutes because he's going to provide that shooting and at least some solid defense. So I really like that pickup, especially the 27th pick.
Right. And it was interesting because, like I mentioned earlier, we didn't know if Miami was going to make any moves with this pick, but they ended up using it. And I can't wait to see what's ahead for this guy, Jović. And it's going to be really interesting. Like, I know, Flash, you got something you want to add?
Yeah, he's also something I forgot to say. I saw in the scouting report and the videos I've been watching. He's actually a very good offensive rebounder, which is going to play really good for us if somebody who we're going to talk about later leaves the Heat.
Man, I hate that you brought that up at the end. But, that is another good point, though, that you brought up with Jović being a great rebounder, too. And overall, like, obviously, it's going to take some time. But if there's any team that's going to be capable of developing someone like Nikola Jović, it's definitely the Heat. So we'll see what happens from there. And, I heard one joke everyone brings up is that, Pat Riley was watching the movie Hustle on Netflix, and that's where he got the inspiration when it came to picking Jović. And we saw how Bo Cruz turned out. So hopefully we see the same thing with Jović. But it's going to be very fun to see how he progresses into his career. And until then, let's just keep talking about what's going on right now, especially as it's time to talk about the offseason. And there are many things that lies ahead for this team. So when looking at how this team performed last season, what are some needs that you guys believe the Heat should address? You're up first, Ju.
For me, I think y'all just need more offensive weapons. Like, y'all's defense is amazing. Y'all are really deep. It's just the offense when it comes to playoff time is very stagnant. Like, obviously, I'm not saying y'all are always going to be in like contention for any like star player, it seems like. So like, obviously, maybe Bradley Beal, if he comes there, that'd be great. That's going to help take pressure off Jimmy, not just worry about Tyler pin downs or just Duncan coming off a screen or something like that. You can actually run more motion offense and stuff like that. Also adding a guy like, I don't know, Otto Porter, stuff like that, especially since it seems like y'all may be losing PJ Tucker. But for the most part, yeah, like Otto Porter would be a great guy to be in Miami. Everyone seems to like him. He's a good guy that can. He's a glue type of guy. He can make the locker room better. He can make guys hold them accountable. And I just think that's one of the main targets y'all should definitely go for in the offseason.
I agree. And you, Anthony?
Well, as far as improvements in the offseason, there's been all this talk about free agents and trade targets, of course, but truthfully, I don't think there's been enough of an emphasis on internal improvement. 2 of your 3 best players are less than 24 years old. And I believe if Bam and Tyler can reach their full potential, those are the 2 guys that can really take you to the next level. With Bam, I really want to see him step up his offensive game, maybe get a couple moves in the post, or maybe just learn that he can shoot. Maybe I'm not even saying stretch out to the 3, but I'd like to see him take, 5 to 6 mid-range jump shots for the game. And Tyler, you really just want to see him get healthy and then get in the weight room so he can get a little bit bigger and not be a complete turnstile on defense where he was. But I think if you can get the internal improvement from those 2 guys, I think you have a really great chance going into next season.
Right. And what do you think, Flash?
Right. So I've seen so many people on Twitter right after the NBA Finals, right after we got eliminated, the Eastern Conference Finals, say, oh, the Heat need more size. They need that perfect 7-footer to play next to Bam. They need more defenders because Tyler and Duncan are turnstiles. And the reality is our defense is fine. It might take a hit if PJ Tucker ends up leaving, but our defense is fine. I think the more concern is getting somebody that can score, because there are times where Jimmy Butler's off the floor, even when he's on the floor, that we can go a stretch of 3, 4, 5 minutes with scoring 1 or 2 field goals. So somebody that can pick up the slack scoring is probably the most important necessity, in my opinion. I think hopefully the internal development of Tyler Hero continues to rise. He's been improving every single year. So if that keeps going, maybe he can handle more of that. If we get Oladipo back and he's healthy, that would be pretty good. But yeah, overall, I just think we need scoring.
I agree. And let's see, Monster, you?
Yeah, so I agree with what has been said, but I think if we look at what the Heat did really well last year, it was obviously their defense, and they're actually a pretty good three-point shooting team. I think their biggest holes were rebounding. They're one of the worst rebounding teams in the NBA. And for whatever reason, they turn the ball over a lot. And of course, their offense needs to get better. But I think ways to plug in these holes for the Heat is just to get somebody, doesn't necessarily have to be a big to match up with Bam, just somebody else who could help with rebounding, another forward, and also get somebody who could run the point guard. Because at this point in his career, Kyle Lowry's a bit old. He's been showing up out of shape. He's probably not the most reliable guy to be the point guard. And having a backup like Gabe Vincent is also not the best thing for the Miami Heat if they really want to win a championship. So I think to plug in those holes, they need another forward, another stretch four possibly, and another point guard, someone who could actually facilitate the offense when Jimmy's out or when Jimmy's playing as well.
Right. And just one thing, like, make sure you don't bring up Kyle being out of shape in front of a Raptors fan, because they'll come after you for that. So let's
screw
see.
them fans.
Let's see, George, you?
Yeah, there was a lot of optimism coming into this offseason. I felt like we had a big chance of landing, someone kind of big. I feel like that's the fan's dream, though. We always sit here wanting to be, the Donovan Mitchells and the Kyries, the Kevin Durant's. The talk is great until something doesn't work out. But there's definitely ways this roster can improve. I think we saw some really, really great points from great points from players throughout the season, late in the season as well. Gabe Vincent showed that he could be a great, a really, really reliable piece. Good point guard behind Vincent, but there's definitely things we have to work on. Now, the report that PJ is accepting, he's not going to accept any other offers except for the Philadelphia offer is by Philadelphia account. So, until I see an official report, I'm not going to believe anything I see. If the offer is 10 mil, 3 years in a row, I see why Miami wouldn't want to match that deal, because who's going to want to pay a player when he's 40, 10 mil, for the next, 3 years. But I feel like there's still really good pieces out there. I feel like we can also put together a really nice package for anyone that wants to, relocate. But I feel like the Dwayne Dedmon slot needs to be filled ASAP, because we saw post All-Star break, he stopped becoming the mechanic and he was looking like the broken down car himself. He couldn't rebound, really couldn't move up the floor. His shooting went down as well. So I feel like we need to put someone behind Bam that's, got a bit, of younger legs under him. I feel like Jović coming in really puts us in a good spot to not back up Bam, but I feel like see someone that can play next to Bam. So a nice backup center, probably, someone like Mo Bamba. He's kind of fallen out of favor a little bit in Orlando. So I feel like we can offer, something in the region of what he's worth. I don't know his market value, but I don't feel like it's going to be that high. So someone like that coming in could be, could be quite good. Scoring as well. Otto Porter's a name that keeps getting pulled up. I don't feel like he's going to cost that much. I know he's an NBA champion now, but I don't feel like he's going to be asking anything over about 12 to 15 million for 2 years, 3 years. I feel like a deal like that could get it done pretty easily. So look, there's definitely avenues we can go down. Free agency hasn't started and everyone's already talking about running it back. But, we've still got pieces to move. We've still got a lot that we need to see to fold out. So, it's still optimism, but we're going to figure out what we're going to have to do.
Right. And I know you got something you want to add, Flash?
Yeah, I think we're overstating the whole need a backup center thing, because I think Year 7 was a rookie last year, and not thinking he can progress through the offseason is kind of shallow, narrow-minded, because I think he's probably going to be the backup center and he's going to be really good at it, in my opinion. And no offense, George, but going after somebody like Mo Bamba, who's Dwayne Dedmon with a rap song, I'm not into that.
Wow. So that's interesting, because I know there are a lot of Heat fans out there that do want Mo Bamba. Like, do any of you guys feel the same way? Like, George, what do you think about the whole Mo Bamba argument, since I know you're pro Mo?
promo. I like that.
This man said promo.
That was fantastic. It made me happy. Look, I feel like someone at his size actually offers a lot that we need as well. Like we put emphasis before on rebounding. If he's a pure 7-footer, 7'2" or 3, I forgot what he is, but he stretches the floor as well. So if he's not going to cost that much, I feel like putting someone behind him that's actually got experience at playing high minutes and stuff like that. I like you at 7, I really do, but he's such a raw prospect at this point in time. I'm not saying yes 100% Mo, but I'm not saying no to you at 7 either. If he can really show out in summer league and put together a good route, I don't see why he can't fill that slot. But at the moment, I'd like to see someone who fits the timeline a little bit better.
Right. And Monster, I know you got something you want to say yourself.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Mo Bamba. For me, somebody who's been on the Magic for the last 2 to 3 years and never really cracked the rotation. I just wouldn't want that guy on this team. I think this team has high aspirations to actually win a championship. I know a lot of Heat fans are kind of like up in shambles now that, we're not that close, but this team finished number 1 in the East. And we were basically one shot away from making the finals. I mean, the Heat are really close. And I don't think adding someone like Mo Bamba, like, no offense, no disrespect, he's a good player, but I just don't think he's on this timeline. He's not the type of guy who's going to come in and provide solid defense. He's kind of small framed. I just don't see him fitting in with this team and actually making them better. I really don't.
All right. And let's see, Jew, you?
Yeah. So I don't know. I think Mo Bamba is really good, especially last season, which was probably his best season. He averaged about, I think, like a career high, which isn't that much, like 10.6, 11 points, 8 rebounds. But he shot about 38% from the 3. And he was playing about 25 minutes, and he played about 71 games. He can stay healthy when he's actually conditioned and everything, it seems like. And he finally seems to be conditioned. And he averaged about, 2 blocks? I want to say 1.7, 1.8, just rounded up to 2. He's a good defender. If you have Mo Bamba coming in off your bench as your backup center, I just think that adds a extra level of depth that y'all kind of need, especially with big men. But I think he's pretty good for y'all's timetable. I think next season for sure he's going to have a really solid defensive year, especially whatever team he's on too. Especially if he's on a team like the Heat where y'all are so good defensively, it just helps him raise his defensive ceiling. If y'all get what I'm saying.
Right. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what the Heat do because not only is there Mo Bamba, but like there's so many names out there. And, it's definitely going to be interesting trying to get someone, especially to fill in the void that Dedmon is going to leave behind, assuming that he ends up leaving. So, I mean, I honestly wouldn't be too opposed to the idea of Mo Bamba. I know for all my anti-Mo people here, you guys did bring up some good points regarding why you didn't want him. So it would be interesting for either side, regarding whether or not you want him or you don't. Like, it's going to be interesting. So with that being said, we talked a lot about, what's out there for Miami. And, next up, I want to talk about the free agents that are on this team right now, because the Heat have to make some important decisions regarding who stays and who goes. The Heat have 6 free agents this offseason, with those guys being PJ Tucker, Victor Oladipo, Caleb Martin, Dwayne Dedmon, Udonis Haslem, and Markieff Morris. When hearing this list of free agents for the Heat, who do you guys believe Miami should prioritize, and which players do you guys think will be headed elsewhere before the start of next season takes place? Let's see. We'll start off with you, Anthony.
All right. I've been quiet because I think I have an unpopular opinion here. I honestly believe that Dwayne Dedmon will be back on this team, and he should be back on this team. Now, I fully understand that he was terrible in the playoffs, and he shot like 0 of 13 from 3. But listen, he's going to be a minimum guy. And for someone who's going to be on a minimum contract, I don't believe you're going to find much better than that. Mo Bamba's okay. He has a lot of potential, and that's what the Heat do. They bring potential out of guys. I like Nerlens Noel, but I don't think those will be minimum contract guys. And for this Heat team, I don't want to spend a lot of money. They don't have a lot of money, first of all. And second of all, I don't want to just be throwing, multi-year deals to guys, and now all of a sudden you're losing salary cap space. Now you are getting tradable contracts, but we said the same thing in 2016, and then next thing you know, we're paying Ryan Anderson to like 2030. So I think Dwayne Dedmon will be back, and for a minimum deal, I'll take it. On the flip side of things, I guess, I think guys like Victor Oladipo and Caleb Martin will unfortunately be gone because I don't think the Heat can afford to pay them. I think you'll have bad teams out there, maybe like a Sacramento, that's going to throw a lot of money at those guys, and unfortunately, they're going to leave. As far as PJ Tucker, that's the one guy I would have bet my life that he would have stayed here. The reports are definitely a little concerning, but I still don't want to put a lot of credibility into that just because you could see how much PJ Tucker loved it here. I really find it hard to believe he'd want to go to Philly. I don't think they would stiff him on the money just because Pat Riley has said, and Mickey has said when they have a contender, they will spend. And obviously for a guy like him, I think they will spend. So I believe he'll be back. And then lastly, Udonis Haslem, he could stay here as long as he wants. And if you think differently, then you could turn in your Heat fandom bad because he could stay as long as he wants.
All right. And, I just want to say, like, PJ, if you're listening to this, remember last year in the playoffs, the Sixers fans was chanting that you suck and stuff. So if you really want to play for a garbage fan base like that, like, that's on you. I get it. Money talks. But come on now, bro. You know how it is here with Heat Nation. And let's see. You, Flash?
You started something that I was going to say, Joel, so I'm going to continue it. This is on the off chance that PJ Tucker listens to Heat versus the World. This is my message to you, PJ Tucker. If you want to go and you want to chase a bag, by all means, go. But do not go to that poor city of Philadelphia that nobody likes, who have awful fans. And did I say nobody likes?
Yes.
Anywhere but Philadelphia, you can go. You can go get your money. Don't go to Philadelphia. Please, this is dependent on my mental health. Don't do that. But we have, 6 free agents from our own roster. We have Victor Oladipo, Caleb Martin, PJ Tucker, Dwayne Dedmon, Markieff Morris, Udonis Haslem. Well, the Udonis Haslem one is easy. He can stay as long as he wants to. And if you don't agree, kind of like Anthony said, you can go to hell. And I think we can afford to bring back Victor Oladipo because we own his bird rights. So I think we will make a play for Oladipo to come back. I think he will be back. I don't think Caleb Martin's coming back. Last year in 2022, I wanted to say that Caleb and Depot were kind of similar to each other. So getting 2 of the same player wouldn't be beneficial to us. And I'd rather have the potential of a healthier Victor Oladipo coming back in 2022. To be there, I think that I don't want Dwayne Dedmon back. I think we have year 7. I think he'll be fine. I don't want Markieff Morris back because sadly he got destroyed by the Jokic people. Screw them. But I don't want him back. He's just going to take spot on the bench. So there's a few roster spots to fill, and I think that's exciting for Heat fans that think we're not going to do anything. We're going to have to do something. So, yeah, I pretty much covered everybody, and I think one more time, PJ, don't go to Philly. That place sucks.
Man, I could not agree anymore, specifically with that PJ thing. Like, if there's any team PJ could have went to, Philly just makes me sick to my stomach. So, PJ, if you are listening to this, just please, for the love of God, do not go to Philly. Come on now, please, bro. And then let's see, Monster, you?
Yeah, I'm with you guys on PJ. I would love if he stays, but I'm just going to take that assumption that he's gone. He's going to Philly. I mean, if they're really offering him that 3-year, $10 million a year at that stage in his career, I mean, I would do it. I mean, who wouldn't when you're 37, 38, earning $10 million a year? So I'm going to assume that he's gone, but with the remaining free agents we've got, I don't know. I really liked Dwayne Dedmon as well. I thought he was pretty good, especially in the backup role. Especially during the season, we had a lot of injuries, and he came and filled in his role, and he played pretty well for us. The playoffs was a little bit different, but it's okay. There's always room to grow. Thought he was a pretty solid backup center. And the next guy we should definitely get back is Victor Oladipo. He's coming off another serious injury again in his career. I think this is not the Victor Oladipo that's going to be the same guy. It's not the Victor Oladipo that we're going to see next year. He's going to have a full offseason to come back and work on his game and get back healthy. This is a guy that could really turn this Heat team into another level. He could be a solid shooting guard. He could play solid defense. I really like him for this team. And in terms of everybody else, you can kind of find other players instead of Caleb Martin or Markieff Morris to fill out the roster. So I'm not too worried about bringing those guys back. And then I completely agree with Haslam. There's no reason for him not to be on this team. He's such a great locker room presence. And if you don't like him, just go to hell, honestly.
Okay, I love
Zola is crying and throwing up right now in the group chat.
But yeah, shout outs to you, Lola, if you listening to this. But yeah, I hate the negativity right there with PJ. I'm not ready to give up on him just yet, but everything else I think you were spot on with. Let's see, George.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of things I want to address. First and mostly, we need to package Haslam in a trade and send him out of here. He's done, finished. I don't want to hear
Get out. Leave. Get out.
I'm joking.
No more.
I'm joking. All right. But seriously, Dwayne Dedman looked like a shell of himself. He can only play half a season. He's not the player we think he is. He played amazing when he filled in the gap when Bam went out with his thumb surgery. We're very grateful. Thank you for that. But post All-Star break, he was nothing short of unreliable. So he's got to go. We have to age down and drop drop the age for him, for his position, because he just doesn't have the legs there anymore. I feel like his replacement has to be a priority for us. But I'm sitting here thinking, if PJ is on the move, and like I said before, I don't believe that at the moment, because unless all these, someone else besides a Philly official will come out and say that, I just can't believe it until then. But we have to really put the effort into trying to keep some of these players. Depot, I don't feel like he'll leave. I feel like he's done his year and a half of rehab here. He came, played 4 games, got injured, came back and played 20 games after. But I feel like his work in Miami still speaks volumes to what he has to do for his loyalty, for his personal brand as well. I feel like the best move for him would be signing a short-term deal in Miami, really proving himself, and then getting the bag after. I feel like he's still young enough to achieve, another pretty high contract. But I just don't see him signing a 4-year deal right now. I don't think any team besides Sacramento would be, would take a gamble on that. So I still think Oladipo coming back is on the cards and is pretty likely. Out of all the players you mentioned before, Caleb Martin, I feel like he's going to want kind of a bigger contract as well. Someone in his position, I would be expecting something in the range of 7 to 10 million. So basically just under what PJ's asking. But I still think that we have, if we can get these contracts on the books, these movable $10 million contracts, which in today's NBA isn't really a hindrance, it's more of an asset, especially when you're looking in trade situations to make the money work. I feel like anything under 10 is a pretty good and pretty movable contract if we want to make moves down the road. But Martin played a great role. He's a great defender for his size. He can shoot when he wants to, but he's nothing out of this world. He's definitely got facets of his game that need work. But look, Dedman, I don't want to see him anywhere back in a Heat uniform. I don't care. I think we need to replace him. Depot on to come back, Haslam come back. Martin, PJ, these players are crucial to keeping the core together and then making moves outside of that. So look, we've got a lot to unfold, a lot to see, but it's going to be exciting nonetheless.
Right. And one thing I'll say with PJ is that, this is my opinion, personally, something to say to just keep it optimistic with him is that, this is probably his manager, his agent that's leaking this stuff, trying to see if Miami could go a little up with their deal, perhaps. Now, we'll see what exactly happens. I still got my hopes up that Jimmy and that PJ ends up coming back to the Heat, it's going to be tough. And I know a lot of concerns people have with him and his age and stuff, but it just sucks if he does end up leaving, because we know how much he screams Heat culture and how he should have been on this team a long time ago. So, I'm just still going to be optimistic about it. I know, a lot of you guys, a couple of you guys here, and then people listening to this, you guys might feel down, especially with the reports that are coming out. But I'm going to stay strong for now. Until I get that Shams or Woj report that it's official, I'm going to stay confident. And then, Julius, what's your take?
For me, I'm a Rockets fan, so I love PJ. PJ, for him to still be getting a chance, if the rumors are true, to be making $10 million at the age of 40, I'm taking it. That's just me personally. I think most of us are, if we're 47 or 37 and we get an offer like that. So I'm pretty sure he's gone, but we don't know if it's for sure. But I love PJ. Any team he's on, I support. Like when he was on the Heat, I support. When he was on the Bucks, I supported him. Like I just love PJ. It's just how it is. Oladipo, he's not that. I don't know. He's an iffy guy. Like in the playoffs against the Celtics, he was what? He shot 4 for 12 in the game 7, 2 for 6, 1 for 7, 7 for 16, 1 for 4, 2 for 8, and 2 for 9. That's just not going to cut it. But he's always been that guy. Like he's an inefficient shot chucker at times, but when he's hot, he's hot. So if you want to take that risk and re-sign him back and just hope that maybe he takes less of a role, and not less of a role, but more of like a bench, like he starts maybe some games, but then sometimes some games you maybe put him on the bench role and like have him control the bench. Maybe, yeah. UD, it's UD. He's going to stay on the Heat for the rest. He's basically a coach at this point. I would love to see y'all keep Morris and Caleb Martin, but I don't think y'all can keep both. So one of the two are going to have to go. And if I had to choose to keep one, I'd keep Caleb Martin. He's young. He's up and coming. They're both really good, but I like Caleb Martin more because he's younger. And that's just kind of my thing on it. Dwayne Dedmon, I think he should go, especially if y'all are looking to add a better rim protector big that comes off the bench. Because, like, when Bam's not on the floor, it's really bad. And so I just don't think Dwayne Dedmon is the guy for y'all to sign. So I would just stay away from him as a whole.
Right. It's going to be interesting to see what the Heat decide. And I know, George, you got something you want to add on?
Yeah, just a quick point. I remember last year on this point in time when rumors coming out that players were taking contracts, with teams before the start of free agency. It's considered tampering, but we're already talking about the numbers here. We're not even talking about a person possibly choosing this team and saving face there. We're literally talking about contract sizes for these players. So I don't know how they can have these conversations with players up until this point without it being considered tampering. So I don't know if I don't know if I'm thinking out of the box here too far, but like, how can this be so? How can they talk about contract sizes and stuff like that with players when free agency hasn't even started yet?
You know what? It's confusing because I feel like the NBA decides when they want to enforce the tampering rules and stuff. Like, I could have sworn the Lakers should have gotten punished for this last season, because I remember there was reports and people saying that DeMar to LA was basically a done deal until they got Westbrook. Like, DeMar was a whole free agent at that point. Like, how did y'all already have a done deal before free agency had even started? Like, it just doesn't make sense. And obviously the Heat had to pay a price, and it wasn't too much. I mean, all you gave up was a second round pick, but to still be punished for just going out and getting Kyle Lowry, I mean, it's ridiculous, but at this point, it is what it is. The Heat, we know that the Heat are capable of keeping their tampering on low, but, the NBA, we know how Adam Silver is. We know that this dude doesn't care. Like, I honestly don't know exactly how this dude likes to operate, especially when it comes to this whole tampering thing. It's confusing at this point. And it's honestly a surprise when a team actually does get accused for it. So that's all I got to say, because like I said, I'm literally just confused with how they want to punish teams, because it seems like they're just picking at this point if they want to start using this rule and start enforcing it on teams, or if they just want to let it slide. So that's all that's on my mind regarding the tampering and stuff. And we talked about the free agents for the Heat, and before we close this pod out, we do need to talk about the offseason predictions for the Heat. And I want to hear what you guys think will actually happen for Miami. If you guys can give your realistic predictions for the Heat. Do you guys think the Heat get a couple big fishes here and there? Do you guys think the Heat run it back? Dare I say it? I know that's 3 words a lot of Heat fans don't like to hear and stuff, but still, like, what do you guys think the Heat are going to end up doing this season? Let's see. Flash, you could start us off.
Right. So I said that I thought that he needed a scorer because of the droughts, but in the situation that PJ Tucker would leave for Philadelphia, please don't. I would say that a starting power forward is probably becoming the priority. And I think I like some names out there. I like Bobby Portis for the MLE. I really like Kyle Anderson. That's my agenda going forward. Kyle Anderson is really versatile forward. They can guard multiple positions, so I love that. But the free agent market isn't that strong anyways, so I would probably explore trade options. I don't know what power forwards could be available. John Collins is asking for way too much. I mean, he's making way too much money. Everybody wants Harrison Barnes. I don't see that happening, but who knows? So you need to just explore options at the 4. You're going to have to, unless you want Nikola Jović starting at the 4 right away, which is probably not what Miami want to do. And other than that, you probably try to get a scoring guard. He's not really much of a scoring guard. He's more a defensive minded guard, but I really want somebody like Gary Payton Jr. But obviously I know that the Warriors are probably going to move heaven and earth to keep him, but he would be a really good name to have. But other than that, you really just need to shore up whatever you lose and try to build from there. I don't think you're going to see anything major happening. That's for sure.
I agree. And let's see, you, Monster?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think at this point, it's kind of unrealistic to expect the Heat to pull off some major trade, especially with some of the news about Bradley Beal coming out and Zach LaVine. Seems like they're both staying with their same teams, and we all know what just happened with Kyrie and KD. I think some things target, just like Flash said, like there's players like Bobby Portis, even players like Taurean Prince. Like there's some good power forwards that we could bring in. We'll see if they'd be willing to accept the MLE, but those players would fit in nicely with this team. They both shoot threes, they can stretch the floor, and they both defend really well, and they rebound. There's also players like Otto Porter, who we just saw in the finals, who could fit in really well and give the Heat another option at forward. This free agent class isn't the greatest, especially with the Heat that they're cap strapped right now. It's kind of tough for them to make some moves, but there are some decent names. I mean, Flash also mentioned Kyle Anderson. We saw him with Memphis in the playoffs. He was unbelievable for them, and I think he would fit perfectly with this team. I think another name, I might be more high on him than other people, but Ricky Rubio. I know he's coming off an ACL tear, but kind of like him having that option at point guard for someone to come in and back up Kyle Lowry, because I really don't trust Kyle Lowry at this point in his career to really be a reliable point guard to make it all the way through the playoffs and actually provide this team a facilitator. But yeah, I think this is going to be a tough offseason. Most likely the Heat are going to just run it back. It seems like with the cap situation and who's actually available, it seems most likely that we're going to try to retain our own free agents and find these little hidden gems in the free agent class as well.
Right. And I know a lot of people might not be pleased with that answer, but it is something that we do have to keep in mind, that that's probably something that could end up being the case. And let's see, you, George?
Yeah, this is where I start to get a little bit frustrated because we open up this offseason with aspirations of Donovan Mitchell, and now we're talking about getting Kyle Anderson, Ricky Rubio. It's absolutely doing my head in. So if you think this front office is about to sit here and become a victim of the offseason, which is basically, every other team is making moves, PJ here, teams re-signing superstars, and then the Heat go, oh, we're going to lose this player, but that's all right. We're gonna develop talent and then see how this went, how this goes. We tried that once. You know what that was called? The 2021 season when we got swept. There is no possibility and no doubt in my mind that this front office is planning something. They have to be, because if you don't improve, you see how quick you fall in this league. Because when we're getting run up by teams, you're getting swept by these organizations, and we stop becoming competitive. We see that the offseason is the direct response to that. Is the reason why we don't play well, why we don't have a great season, or it's not the longevity we expect. So I'm sitting here going, yeah, we have one player leaving so far. We reported by a Sixers fan. So I'm still hopeful on that situation. I'm not going to lose hope yet, but I don't think I'm willing to spend the 10 million when he's 40 years old to do that. But I still think that there's bigger fish to fry when it comes to this. We can't go straight away from having all these big fish aspirations to then going, this player will do, this player will do, and we're going to lose all these players. It's just not going to happen. This team has to improve, and they have so many spots, so much roster space to fill up that I don't think that that we're just going to run it back. Plain and simple. We freed up picks in the at the All-Star break for this situation. So if you think that we're going to sit here and then play and poach these minimum guys, or these guys are going to cost us like 6 to 7 mil, and then fill up roster gaps, it's not going to happen.
Right. And Julius, what's on your mind?
I don't think I'll run it back for sure. There's some free agents that y'all may be able to get for the low, or just don't sign certain guys and just bring these guys in. Like, there's one hidden gem that I'm very high on him. I just don't think he's gotten a fair chance, which is Marvin Bagley. He's a restricted free agent. You might be able, he's never really gotten a fair chance, and I think he can be really good in the league. Like they were saying earlier, Kyle Anderson, slow-mo, he's really good. I think Montrezl Harrell, y'all need a 4. Like, that's the problem. Y'all really do need a 4. So, like, Montrezl Harrell, Kyle Anderson, Marvin Bagley, guys like that, y'all may be able to get. Chris Boucher, isn't he an unrestricted free agent, I think, this season? So there's a lot of guys you might be able to get. So it just depends on how Miami wants to handle it and where they go in the future direction. But I think with having Pat Riley, I think having Pat Riley, he's going to make something work, and it always works. So.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Anthony?
Yeah, I got to be honest. I completely disagree with you, George. I completely disagree. There is absolutely nothing wrong with running it back when you have a roster as talented as I believe this roster is. I understand you're saying, we're going big whale hunting, and now we're talking about Kyle Anderson. All right, well, just a couple years ago, we were deciding whether we wanted Giannis or Harden. We ended up with Max Strus, and where did that lead us? It led us one shot away from the NBA Finals just 2 years after making the NBA Finals. I don't count that 2021 postseason at all. They're coming off the shortest offseason in NBA history. That entire thing was a fluke, in my opinion. I really believe that. And when you have a team with young guys like this team has, I think they will all improve, and I think there is plenty of internal improvement to go into next season with a real shot at winning it all if you run it back. Nearly everybody played terrible except for Jimmy Butler. Imagine if Max Strus steps up next year in his second ever playoff run. Gabe Vincent in his second ever playoff run. 22-year-old Tyler Hero, 25-year-old Bam Adebayo. There is enough internal improvement on this team that they can get there. And as long as you have Jimmy Butler, who is a top 5 player in the world, you have a chance. There's not always going to be a move out there about getting a Donovan Mitchell. That's just not realistic. That's not what the NBA is. You have a whale. His name is Jimmy Butler. You don't need anybody else. Of course, I would like to go out and get it, but I honestly believe that this team has enough. I love the Ricky Rubio name because Kyle Lowry's going to miss some time at his age. He's a guy that could step in there. Bobby Portis is great, but I don't think he'll be a mid-level guy. But there's guys out there that you can build around the edges and use this core and get back to the NBA Finals. I really believe that. Because if you start going big whale hunting to get a name for the sake of just getting a name, you end up paying my guy Hassan Whiteside $98 million. There's no reason to rush. When the move is there, it'll be there. I don't think Donovan Mitchell will ask out for this offseason. But don't make a move just for the sake of making a move. And now when Mitchell or Damian Lillard demands a trade a year from now, you have terrible assets and overpaid contracts. That's not the way to go. Take your time, run with this roster back, and go from there.
All right, George, time for you to step up.
Oh, if I had a soundboard right now, it'd be popping. It'd be going off. This. Look, Anthony, we're friends. I respect you. I respect your opinion. You've always been a great fan. But
I love you, Joy. And I agree with you 90% of the time, but just this whole don't run it back. It's the worst thing in the world. It's unrealistic to me. And everybody forgets we're one shot away from the finals. If you would have asked any Heat fan last year if who's the pick to win it all, every Heat fan would have said Miami. And just because they fell one shot short, everybody thinks that all of a sudden they're trash. That's what I don't get.
I ain't talking about we're trash, but you're saying you're talking about all this, Gabe Vincent, hype and stuff like that. You're talking about picking in a guy that just tore his ACL clean off the bone. I don't know how we're going to replace. We're going to make these troubles go away. You're going to pay Ricky Rubio $14 million, but you're not going to do this for any other player. That's what I'm saying. I feel like there's someone out there. I'm not saying to make a move just to make a move, because I want to walk out of this offseason, being a winner. It's not about that. It's about saying we've got so much unreliable offense. You look at Tyler Hero, who disappeared completely off the face of the planet in this playoff run. He was the guy for us to come off the bench, to put up 20, 22, 25 points a game, and to be our X factor. He didn't do anything like that. He did absolutely nothing. Duncan Robinson, we just gave the bag to, and is absolutely useless without Bam standing in front of the defender to get him free. Well, we've got so many of these players that rely on other players to get them free and open when this is called unreliable offense. Someone who can't get their own shot, it's not that I don't want them on the team. They have a place. It's called a role player. But when you're not doing a role and you can't do it without someone standing in front of you, I can't sit there and say you're a contributing piece to this team at a high level. We need someone to come in and to put points on the board. It is the way it is. We can't keep holding teams under 100 and having a record of like 30 something. Those are like 20, 25 and 3 when we keep them under 100. We can't do that anymore. We have to be able to put points on the board when it counts. That series against the Celtics open eyes for plenty of people. They've got scorers. They do. They've got two legit scorers who absolutely kill it. And when we've got Jimmy doing what he does, which is fantastic, love him. When he's playing his best, he's a top 7, top 8 player in the world when he plays, in that playoff mode. But then you've got Bam, who just needs to get it through his thick skull. He needs to put points on the board. He needs to do this consistently. Not one game, not 2 games. They have to both show up every single night if you want to win. But when they've got those 2 players, Tatum and Brown, but then you got Derek White coming off the bench, putting up 18 points a game, doing what Tyler should do. That's experience, and that's someone that can get their own shot actually doing it. So, I don't want to hear that we can't improve. We don't have to improve. We're going to wait and watch this team age another year. Yeah, and that's going to do wonders for players like Bam and Tyler. But for players like Butler and Lowry, they don't have that timeline in them anymore. It's win now. It's win right now. So to go and get a player to really put points on the board, this is the offseason to do it. We have to back up talent with talent. And we can't lose talent and sit there and go, we just got this player, that will fill the hole. I feel like we just can't do that. That's the worst thing we can do.
Right. And now I want to bring in a new fighter to the field. Monster, you got something you want to say?
Yeah, so I actually agree with Anthony on this one. Sorry, George. Look, I think we were a lot closer. The Heat, I won't say we. I think the Heat were a lot closer than people think, especially you, George. I hear what you say about the offense, but look, a core of Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, that's a solid core in of itself to compete in the East. Adding these other smaller pieces, like, for instance, a free agent like Kyle Anderson, Bobby Portis, who might not be exactly reachable for the Heat, but adding those other role players to fill out the roster is what makes this team a solid team to a contender. I don't think going for home run hits is going to be what this team has to do. I mean, when you have a player like Duncan who's making so much money, he's really the only person who you could send in the trade to match the salaries. And I don't think any other team wants Duncan based on what they just saw in the playoffs. So I don't know. I completely agree with Anthony on this one. We're a lot closer than people think. We were literally one shot away from taking down the Celtics, made that crazy late game comeback in Game 7. This team is so close, and injuries are a part of the game. Tyler Hero was injured last year in the playoffs. I know he had the groin injury. He didn't play as well, but another year under his belt, he just averaged 20 points a game for the regular season. He carried us in the regular season. Another year under his belt, I don't see why he can't have another great season and carry that on to the playoffs. Bam Adebayo, same thing. I mean, he was a little bit inconsistent as well, but another season, another deep playoff run, why can't he be better? You have this entire team that's actually really solid, and you have a really solid core. Adding these other smaller pieces is just going to help. It's going to make this team more reliable and plug in the holes. You've got a coach like Coach Spo. I mean, this is one of the best coaches, arguably the best coach in the game right now. He can definitely put together a game plan which would maximize the entirety of the team. So this team, in my opinion, is a lot closer than you guys think.
Right. And you, what about you?
I actually agree with George. I just think y'all have to bring someone else in because every other team is going to get better. Also, we have to think about like the Bucks. Chris Middleton got hurt. If he's healthy and y'all play the Bucks in a 7-game series, honestly, if we're being realistic, I don't think it goes over 6. But every team's going to get better. Teams are going to lose people. Teams are going to gain people as well. So I don't get why you would want to run it back when it didn't work, when other teams are getting better and building chemistry. Like Derek White he came into the Celtics and helped out a lot. They're going to add other pieces. They're probably going to give young guys more opportunities and things like that. And y'all still have a really aging Kyle Lowry that probably may get some minutes. It's just, I get what George is saying. Y'all do have to get more offense on your team, another shot creator, another offensive player that can help. It helps. Like, it helps a lot. It takes pressure off Jimmy, especially in the playoffs, because basically offense is stagnant when you have no shooters. Like, you have shooters in Tyler Hero, you have shooters in Max Strus, but they didn't show up. So, like, when you have players, your shooters not showing up, and Jimmy Butler having to take the biggest load on the whole team, and you don't have a secondary scorer, is just not a good thing. Like, you always need somebody that can, if someone's bad, you can have somebody else come in and pick up the slack for them. I get what George is saying, and I kind of agree with it.
Right. And Clutch, I know you want to hop into convo too.
Yeah, I just want to say that because Drew brought up Derek White, and that brings up the point that I was going to make. The offseason isn't the end-all be-all for the 2022 Miami Heat. There is always the NBA trade deadline where a lot of moves happen, where Pat Riley is usually active, that can get the piece needed to get over the hump. So if we don't do anything or quote-unquote run it back in the offseason, it doesn't mean that we're not going to swing in the trade deadline. So I just want people to realize that.
Mm-hmm. And George, should say what you got to say, and we'll wrap it up.
I think Anthony was first. He wanted to say something before I did.
All right, I'll make it quick. I cannot stand when people say every team is going to get better. That's the most dumb assumption that people say every year. Last year when the Bucks won it all you heard is, oh, they won it all, and all they're going to do is get better. And guess what? They didn't get better, okay? And we saw Heat versus Milwaukee, and you're right, it didn't go past 6 because we beat them in 6 just 2 years ago when it was an actual equal circumstances. And listen, you guys are missing the point, all right? Yes, we need more scoring. Yes, Jimmy can't do it all by himself. Yes, a Donovan Mitchell on this team is exactly what we need, but that's just not available at the moment. So, yeah, we need some scoring. So go out there. Who do you want? You want maybe Will Barton? I heard his name. You want Alec Burks? Yeah, that'd be some scoring option too. But then if I told you we can add those guys, if I brought up that name, you'd say, oh, I want Donovan Mitchell, and instead we got Alec Burks. Donovan Mitchell is just not realistic. So if you end up with Alec Burks, there's no reason to be disappointed. You did the best with the situation that you have. And frankly, Monster hit it right on the head. You have a core that is a championship contender. You build these pieces on the outside that can fit these little, fix these little problems that you have. And that's how you become a good team to a contender. So I just don't think the superstar whale move is available right out there right now. You got to get other guys, and I just trust this team.
Right. And George, what do you got to say?
Just one more thing as well. If we're gonna look towards, say keeping it internal and grow throughout that, Tyler Hero is a player that is going to get the bag. He wants to get paid. He wants the starting role. Now, is he ready for the starting role? Not in my opinion. Not at the moment. He's got too many holes in his game to be a starter. So you're going to pay someone like that 27, 30 million a year to go alongside the other $30 million, the three $30 million contracts we have. We don't have that. If we don't package up someone, if you're looking towards packaging Lowry, Hero, you get 7 picks as well to get a whale. That can get you a whale. And you're going to not just do that, you're going to free up cap in the future as well. Yeah, you're going to absorb a contract that's 35, 36 million, but you're going to free it up because in the future, when players need to get paid, you're going to think Max Strus is going to get paid. You're going to think Hero's going to want a big contract. You think he's going to be humble about it? Absolutely not. So you're going to look towards the future as well. These players aren't just going to make us better now. It's also going to free up money in the future for us as well. And I agree, Clutch. I feel like if we don't make a splash this offseason, there's no way that we don't, we'll at least look to gaining real talent, at the trade deadline as well. It's always a big possibility, seeing how the team plays at the first half of the season, but keeping in mind that we always, close to the end of the season, we tend to underperform before we actually hit a playoff run. So, look, there's a lot of questions, a lot to be asked, a lot to be answered as well, but we just got to wait and see.
Right. I did not expect a huge debate to spark over this. I mean, I literally, as you guys know, you guys here in the pod, I literally took a topic out, assuming that this would be a little quicker. And the fact that here we are over 50 minutes in, obviously it's going to be very interesting to see what the Heat do, if they are to run it back, if they don't. So we'll see what happens. Y'all brought up some great points. So we're just going to have to see. And, it's going to be interesting because a part of me doesn't want to see the Heat run it back, but then, as you said, Anthony, there's the idea that it was possibly a fluke, when you look back at how that 2020, 2021 season went. And I mean, I trust Pat Riley right now, after seeing what Jimmy did to bring Miami as far as he did, I trust him right now, and I know he's going to do right by him. And, it's an interesting situation because there's not any stars that's available right now. Donovan Mitchell, if for some reason you're choosing to listen to this, just come to Miami, bro. Just request a trade. I know y'all hired a new coach today. Who cares? Screw him and come to Miami, all right? Just make it happen. Make us Heat fans happy. And that way we don't even have to debate about running it back or not. So, Donovan, that's our message to close out today's pod. Anyways, with that being said, before we close out today's episode, make sure to check out our Twitter and Instagram page at HVTW Podcast while checking out our website at hvtwpodcast.wordpress.com. That way you still have access to 24/7 Miami Heat content, even when we're not recording a new episode. Now, since this is the off season, we'll be slowly dropping episodes every now and then. But as time progresses, we'll be dropping even more content for you all to enjoy. So with that being said, anyways, thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast. And we'll see you guys soon with another episode. Hit my music because we out.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time with a brand new episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast.